Welcome to Spiritual Dialogue with Father Udon de Castro. We are still here at Cariana Lay Monastic Community. I'm your host, Brother Lodi. With us is Sister Tachi. Sister Tachi.
Yes, Father, so we're here to listen to what you have to say for today.
Father.
So, in our last program, we were discussing the general topic about the confusion that is besetting the Catholic Church, and following the example of the Blessed Virgin Mary, who precisely has a title about untying of knots. One of her title, untying of knots. He is disentangling the confusion and the knots that is causing the confusion in the Catholic Church. So what we're trying to do is try to disentangle the confusion that is going on in the Catholic Church. And we are concentrating on the confusion caused by our bishops in the Philippines. And we are concentrating on the Philippines because we are here in the Philippines.
Yes.
But it seems that the defect of the bishops in the Philippines are identical to the defects of the bishops all around the world.
Yes, Father.
Because as St. Augustine says, and confirmed by St. John Chrysostom, the state of the Catholic Church in a place is the state of the Catholic Church in all the world, the whole world. The state of the Catholic Church in one diocese is exactly the state of the Catholic Church in the whole world.
Is this due to erroneous explanation about the Catholic faith, Catholic doctrine, Father?
Well, not only the wrong explanation of Catholic doctrine, it's because of the fact that many priests during their seminary days have never studied the Catholic doctrine properly.
I see.
As we had mentioned before, there were two defects. First, that they did not learn the Catholic doctrines properly, and the manner that they studied it was wrong. So two things. The object they were studying were studied wrongly, and the manner of studying it was wrong. It's like you riding the wrong bicycle and riding it in the wrong way. So there are two errors here, which cause the confusion. And one of the greatest confusion we have noticed is the dubia,
That's
which was issued by the cardinals, and this is a canonical process to Pope Francis, because precisely his teaching is very confusing. The most confusing doctrines taught by Pope Francis has been in the Amoris Laetitia apostolic exhortation. So nobody can deny the fact that he is teaching something that is very confusing because it's written down.
So with this, you would say, Father, that it has the head having confusing statements has now influenced the rest.
It's the other way around.
Okay,
It's
fine.
more the fact that because the Pope himself is confused is a
Okay.
sign that probably all the bishops and most of the priests are confused.
Okay.
And always we're trying to say, it's always not all,
Yeah,
but
okay.
majority.
Yeah, that. Okay.
When the Pope is confused, it means that the majority of the bishops, of the priests, and the faithful are confused.
Okay.
And we're trying to disentangle this confusion. And the only way to disentangle it is to find out what is the true Catholic faith.
Yes, Father.
And then compare what they are teaching with the Catholic faith.
Can you explain briefly, in a simple language, what is the Catholic faith, Father, so that we will understand it?
We will describe it more dynamically, in other words, how it works really, what it contains. No?
Yes, Father.
The Catholic faith contains the teachings of Jesus Christ as found in the New Testament. Now, the teachings of Christ in the New Testament is a perfection of the teachings in the Old Testament. Because it is the perfection of the Old Testament, we usually do not read anymore. We do not study the Old Testament. Because why study something that is imperfect when you have already something that is perfect? So we study the New Testament commands of Jesus Christ. But this New Testament is impossible to be interpreted because it's the words of God. God has spoken. If it was men who were speaking, it's easier to understand. Like if you two speak to me, I can easily understand what you're saying. But when God is the one speaking, it's impossible for men to understand. And so we need an interpreter of the words of God. And the interpreters are the fathers of the church.
I see. Sister?
So, as you were saying, Father, could that be the reason that there's confusion? They are not looking at the fathers of the church. It seems to be not everybody seems to be know that that's part. They do read scriptures, but the fathers of the church, not many. Priests and bishops quote.
That would be the main reason, in the sense that everybody, especially the Protestants, they read scriptures, they have memorized scriptures, they preach scriptures, but their interpretation is wrong. And there is where it's all the defect. For Catholic, it's worse because we don't even know scriptures. Our priests, our bishops are not expert in scriptures. They have not memorized scriptures, unlike the Protestants. So how can you interpret scriptures if you do not even know what is scriptures? And so what happened is because they do not know the interpretation given by the fathers, it's because they do not know scriptures itself, which is being interpreted by the Father. And so when we say that the bishops are wrong, and we have corrected already around 5 errors taught by the Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, taught by them, and we saw also the Catholic teachings which they are violating, in which they are going against. And the last thing we discussed was the dubia, in which some cardinals and bishops expressed to Pope Francis that again he's teaching something that is wrong. And in their correction of Pope Francis, they enunciated what was the wrong doctrine. That Pope Francis is teaching something wrong against adultery, the doctrine of adultery taught by the Catholic Church. That Pope Francis is teaching something wrong against the worthy reception of the Holy Eucharist, and so forth and so on. So today we're going to discuss another teaching of Pope Francis, which is wrong, and unfortunately it's being parroted or imitated or preached also by our own bishops here in the Philippines. And so what they're teaching is also wrong. And this is taught all over the world, in the United States, in Europe, and so on, not only in the Philippines. And it is a wrong doctrine, and we shall show it is wrong by enunciating the correct teaching of the Catholic Church.
Sister?
So, Father, we're holding our breath, and you are going to go into that, aren't you?
Don't hold your breath lest you faint in the middle of this discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, the most popular issue now with Pope Francis and all of America, all of Europe, and so on, is the immigration problem.
What about the immigration problem, Father?
Pope Francis is encouraging people to immigrate from Africa, from the Middle East. They're being encouraged to go to Europe, to America, to Canada, to Australia, to other nations.
What's wrong with it, Father? People might ask.
That's a good question. And that's what the bishops are asking. What's wrong with that? So why don't we do it?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they're committing errors together with Pope Francis is because precisely they do not know what's wrong with it. They do not know what's wrong with it. Just so, like what you said, Brother Lodi, what's wrong with that? Isn't it? Which means that you are not conscious of the Catholic doctrines that is being violated but by that practice.
What is this doctrine that violated,
Yeah.
Father?
And I don't blame you for not knowing the doctrine,
Yes,
Brother Lodi.
Father, yeah.
If the bishop and the pope doesn't know it, what do I expect from a layman?
Yes, Father.
So, this immigration thing that they're now promoting and encouraging, which of course Donald Trump is against, and he's right in going against it. His reason might be wrong for going against it, but he's right in going against it. But the reason I have for going against it is because it is against Catholic doctrine. Vladimir Putin of Russia is against it. And his reason is better than Donald Trump because his reason is more Christian rather than just political. There are many nations who are against the immigration, like Poland, Hungary, lately Italy, Austria, and so on. So many. There are many heads of states which are wise people who are against it, and their reason might be different, but at least some of them are Christian, and most probably they have Christian reason or theological reasons for going against the policy of immigration. But you're right, Lodi, there is nothing wrong about immigration. What is wrong is the order in observing the teaching of the Catholic Church, which we shall try to explain now.
That is the one reason why I want to ask you, probably the reason behind this immigration is religious or religion.
Yeah, it is a theological, we don't call it religious reason, we call it a theological reason, which we do not expect many people to understand.
Could you explain briefly between
Yeah.
the theological reason, Father?
In fact, our reason for going against it is because, not because they are immigrants. There is nothing wrong with that. You're right, Lodi. There is nothing wrong with accepting immigrants. What is wrong about it is it goes against the teaching of the Catholic Church on divine providence.
I see. Okay.
It's something very
Have
deep.
you?
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Now there's a few
I
points.
think even Brother Lodi hasn't heard about that.
Okay.
And so, Brother Lodi, because he is a Catholic, how come he hasn't heard about it?
Okay.
It's because he hasn't heard it from his parish priest. He hasn't heard it from his bishop. And because the bishop and the parish priest doesn't know it either. And this is the doctrine of divine providence. Now, divine providence does not forbid the reception or the receiving of immigrants. It does not. But there is an order that has to be observed on how to welcome people. Whether it's welcoming your relatives, welcoming your parents, welcoming your children, or welcoming immigrants. There is an order. And the Catholic Church is a Catholic religion that is very orderly. It's not a messy thing, which unfortunately Pope Francis has been promoting to the young people, the youth. He's telling the people to mess up things. The Catholic Church is not a messy religion. It is an order of religion. It is a religion that observes great order. And one of the most observed, ordered doctrine of the Catholic Church is divine providence.
Excuse me, Father, we don't have much time. Please discuss it next episode.
Yeah, next episode.
Thank you very much for watching Spiritual Dialogue with Father Udon de Castro. Thank you so much. See you again.
Hosanna, Hosanna.